Hi guys, welcome or welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Venus Sterling if you're new here. Today I'm going to be doing sort of a tour of my indoor plants, which I have quite a few of. I smell like bamboo. I have sitting right here in this really pretty pot. I have a fair few of them, and this video is probably going to be like roughly a half an hour long. I will try and shorten it as much as possible, but I have a lot of indoor plants. I have a fair few outdoor plants as well, but you won't be seeing them. I've got a pot of succulents, a massive cactus, a aloe vera, a snake plant, a rose bush, a yellow rose bush specifically, and some marigolds outside. But we're just going to be doing the indoor ones. I'm going to be just showing you all the ones I have, and then I'm going to be giving you some information about that specific plant that I don't usually see on those plant videos, like the fact that arrowhead plants are so sensitive, for the love of Lord. Yeah. Regardless, I hope you like this video. If you don't, please give, I'm sorry, if you do, please give it a thumbs up. If you don't, that's fine, but please keep the trolling out of my comment section. For the love of God, you do not need to be mean just for the sake of it. Just leave if you don't like the video. If you like my videos in general, please consider subscribing. Regardless, I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you have a great day or night wherever you are. Let's get into it. I've got a philodendron winterborn. I've just put it in a larger pot the other day because it was just becoming slightly too big for the other pot, and now it looks too small. Anyway, this plant is probably the least sensitive plant I have. It can go fairly long without water compared to the other plants, and it has the least amount of change from winter to summer when the seasons change. And as its name suggests, it does really well in winter. In fact, it's the only indoor plant I've ever seen that continues growing in winter. Do not get me wrong, it slows down a lot compared to how it grows in summer. Like, there's like 6 new leaves coming through right now. Right, this one only came through like the other day, but it still slowly grows in winter, and it barely has any reaction to the seasonal changes, but you never hear about it. Also, it looks very different from other philodendrons, as you can probably tell. Most philodendrons tend to be vines. This one's like more of a large bush plant, and it does get like that. It literally turns into a bush. My mother has a much larger one than this. But I've had it for a few years now, and it's probably the one that's stayed the most consistently healthy. Like, it's never gotten sick, it's never wilted, it's always been completely fine. It also doesn't really react to light changes either. I can have it in a really bright area or like in a corner over there, and it still grows fairly well. So it's a really good plant for beginners actually, but you don't really find them in indoor plant sections. I actually found this in an outdoor plant section, which is ironic because it's always said to be an indoor plant. I've never heard it be described as an outdoor plant, but regardless, this is my philodendron winterborn. I wasn't going to show this. This is one of my baby calophyas, or prayer plants, whatever you want to call them. This one's a baby, and one of the leaves are dying. But I just got it as a cutting off my mom's new plant, and I don't know how well it's going to survive through winter because it is not growing. It's not dying, but it's not growing either. So I don't know how well that's going to go. I don't know what I was expecting because my other calophea, although it is a different type of calophea, grows crazily. Like, it just sprouts out leaves after leaf after leaf. And I had this one for about 2 weeks, and it's just not moving. It's not dying though, so that's good. But yeah, it's a baby calophea. It's got sort of, I like that variegation, it's cool. This is my big calophea. It's a calophea fishbone. It's different from the little one, I believe. This is the one that sprouts out a ton of leaves all the time, like the baby one. Also, this one takes, because it grows so many leaves so often, it takes a fair bit of water. And because of the fact that these calophyas have purple underleaves, they can actually go in darker parts of the room, but they can also go in brighter parts because the top part is so such a light variegation. But yeah, so this is my massive calophea in this very heavy pot. Yeah, my big one. I have a peace lily. This is a small one, obviously. I got it at the beginning of spring this past that's just gone. It's almost the end of summer now, so I'm in Australia. For all the people who are in the Northern Hemisphere about to have a fit at me. It's just about the end of summer. So I bought it at smashed at the beginning of spring along with another plant. That plant died. This plant goes really well though. It's just started sprouting at a ton of leaves in bunches. Something I will say about this plant is that it's quite sensitive, which I wasn't expecting. No, I don't know about temperature yet because it hasn't been through a winter yet with me. We shall see. But it's really sensitive to water. I need to water it a lot more than my other plants. I don't really know why, it just does. And the way its leaves shape is quite random. Like all the leaves are going in a completely different direction. But yeah, this is my peace lily. But it does, I will admit, it does sprout out quite a lot of leaves. So there was 3 or 4 leaves when I first bought it, and now it's got, I've actually had to cut some off because they were so out of proportion with the plant. But yeah, this is my peace lily in my pretty little butterfly pot. I've got a Ficus Tenki. I actually don't know how to pronounce that. I don't really know how to describe this plant. It's grown a ton since I bought it, but it's a lot slower than most plants. And it only grows 1 leaf at a time because it grows from the top. Its leaves are sort of aimed to where I had it sitting most of the time. They're aimed towards where the sun was. I only just recently, for the first time ever, cut off 2 leaves off the bottom because they were so much smaller than the other leaves because they were there when it was little. But yeah, this plant, it keeps growing. I don't know how tall it's meant to get, but it's still going. And when I bought it, it was only up to here, and now it's here. So, but I've had it for 2 years now. This was the second spring and summer it went through. I really love the variegation on it. It reminds me of camo print. But yeah, this plant is very similar to the Winterborn. It doesn't have a massive reaction in winter. It doesn't start wilting or anything. It doesn't have a massive reaction when it doesn't get water. It has quite thick leaves, so if it starts wilting, that's when you know it needs water because it rarely does. It rarely wilts. I don't think I've ever seen it wilt, actually. Yeah, there's not a lot to be said about it. It's a very good plant for beginners, at least. Yeah, I've had it for 2 years. I have this plant, which I have no idea what it is. I think it might be a type of peperomia, but I got it from the market, so I didn't have any tag on it. The ones that they sell at the markets are cuttings of massive plants that the store owner owns, or usually they are. But I think it's a peperomia. That's the sort of style it is. And if it is, it's got thicker leaves than most peperomia I've seen. But I kind of just call it the random plant I have in the bee pot. It's got a bunch of bees on it. This plant is actually really good. It's almost succulent-like, except for the fact that because of its dark undersides, it can go in dark parts of the room. But it's pretty unfussy. It's probably a very good plant for beginners. It's definitely a lot less fussy. If it is a peperomia, it's definitely a lot less fussy than the last one I had. That one died. But yeah, this plant. And it moves a lot with the light. I have it in a dark corner and it still moves drastically with the light. I've got 2 different lucky bamboo plants. They're both in water. Every lucky bamboo plant I've had in soil dies after exactly 2 years after I buy it. I do not know why. This little one, which they don't really grow once they're in water. I don't know if anyone else has noticed that. They'll grow leaves occasionally, but they don't get very large. I've got this little one, which the algae tends to grow on a lot, so I have to change the water a fair bit. But yeah, my little one that I only recently put in here. And then this big one, which has 5 different stalks. This one I have on my spirit guide altar, but I really like the pot. Look how pretty that pot is. These are fairly good for first time plant owners. They're also say on tags that they're really good for first-time plant owners, and they're apparently really good in air-conditioned homes. Wouldn't know, I don't live in an air-conditioned home. But yeah, they're fairly unfussy, especially if you keep them in water. They don't really do anything. But I will admit that anytime I've had one in soil, it has died after a few years. But to be fair, lucky bamboo tend to have a much shorter lifespan in general than to most plants, so yeah. This is a more recent plant. It's Monstera Swiss cheese leaf plants. You know what I'm talking about? The ones that get like holes and they grow. They're fairly popular. They tend to get fake versions of them get made a lot, and they're fairly expensive once they get large. But these are recent. Something I learned about these plants very quickly is that they are very sensitive to where the light is placed, which is why they lean like this. I have to turn them every 2 days because they like full on fall out my window. Like they don't just lean, they like drape out my window. It's gotten to the point where the largest one, which is this one, I actually have to have held up with stalks, and now I'm probably gonna have to put these ones in there as well because they're gonna fall out of the soil. Like, it's ridiculous. Also, this Monstera plant is probably one of the only plants I've ever had where the amount of roots is less than the amount of plant. Like, this plant is, like, it's my entire torso and more. Alright, and it's still technically a baby, and the amount of roots is tiny in comparison. They're pretty average in terms of how sensitive they are to water. I don't know how sensitive they are to seasonal changes though, because I haven't gone through winter with it yet. We shall see. I have this plant, I'm pretty sure it's pothos, not a philodendron. I can't quite remember what these are called though. It's just the one where it's got a dark leaf with slightly lighter speckles. Just recently I put it in this pot. It was in a much smaller pot before. And I recently cut off about a bunch of cuttings off it because it was actually starting to drape, and I put the cuttings in this side. That's what all the littler ones on this side are. They're all cuttings. But yeah, this plant goes really well. I didn't realize until the other day when I actually moved its pot, because it was originally just made of cuttings, but it had completely filled the pot with vines, like it was all one plant now. I've had this plant for a while, like I think 2 or 3 years now, and from what I remember, it doesn't have a massive seasonal change. Like it doesn't grow in winter like the winterborn does, but it doesn't die either. I mean, a few leaves might come off, but it doesn't really have a massive impact. Being a vine plant though, because it grows off so many leaves so quickly, it does need to be watered a little bit more often than other plants, but it doesn't like die if it gets slightly dehydrated. And obviously, being slightly lighter, it does need to go in a bit of a brighter area. But yeah, not much to say about this plant. I've got a philodendron, or another one at least. I can't quite remember what these are called. I was going to say, I think they might be a tricolor one, looking at them. Like a tricolor philodendron. Yeah, I've had this for a little while. These were actually all, if you look closely, I had one really large vine. The school counselor from when I was in school had it in water and it was dying, and I don't know how he kept killing it. It was a water. This is water. I don't understand. Anyway, it was like one really long vine, and he gave it to me, and I cut them all up into cuttings, and so it's got like a bushy plant. And it's only just really started. Some of them have started creating little mini vines in there. So, yeah. Like this marbly pot. This one is pretty average. I mean, it is light variegation, so it does need much brighter light than some of my other plants. So I can't really move it from out of directly in front of my window. But yeah, other than that, it's pretty average in terms of water, and in terms of cold seasons. I actually got it before spring, so it's gone pretty well. I've got a philodendron in water. I've had this in water for years now, and it does not grow. I don't know why. It doesn't really sprout out new leaves anymore. It doesn't grow a ton. I've actually considered putting it in soil, but there are so many vines. There's so many roots, and they're all water roots, because if you're unaware, the roots that plants grow in water and the roots that plants grow in soil are completely different. The ones that grow in water are like string, like they're really thin, whereas when they grow in soil, they're like the thickness of earthworms. But yeah, I don't really know what to do about that, because it is the end of February now, and in like 4 days it's going to be autumn. I mean, if I move it right now, like today, it probably won't die, but yeah. This is pretty similar to the other philodendron, though, because this does have darker variegation, I can put it on like the other side of my room, on the complete opposite end of where the window is. Sorry if I'm talking really fast. But yeah, it grows fairly well in water, but it doesn't grow a ton. It's very slow. But I can't really say anything about if it was in soil. I've also had it for a few years, and it doesn't really change a ton during the winter, like at all. In fact, it probably reacts less than any of my other vine plants do. But yeah, it's my water philodendron in its massive jar. I have a spider plant. I've had 2 different types of spider plants. I much prefer this one. The other one got infested by oh, what are they called? Little white bugs that look like germs. I don't know how to explain it. Something that starts with M, I don't know. This one's did a lot better in terms of the light, though, I will admit. And I'm not too sure about the reasoning for it, but it's in a terracotta pot, so it could be that it just needs more water because of the terracotta pot. But it definitely tells you when it needs water. But it definitely needs water more than spider plants tend to get advertised for needing. In fact, I'd say this needs to get watered more than most of my other plants. The only plant that probably needs to get watered even more than this is the peace lily. But yeah, but it is pretty unsensitive to light. It was also one of those plants that I got out of cuttings. It was like entirely cuttings and then just became all one plant. So yeah, but it's fairly good. I would say it's really good for new time plant owners, but it is a little bit more sensitive than it's advertised to be. So take with that what you will. This is a stag fern. I think that's what they're called, staghorns, stag ferns. They're the type of ferns that grow off of trees. Like you see them growing out of the side of trees. And they cannot be grown from cuttings, they can only be grown from spurs. So you can't like just pull them off the tree, which I was sad about, but I did buy one from the nursery. It's in a pot. It looks very weird. I will tell you one thing though, what I was not expecting with this plant. It attracted ants. I don't know why, because I have tons of plants in soil, but this was the only one that had so many ants. I just got rid of most of them literally yesterday. I sprayed it with bug spray and then it rained a few hours after, so I put it out so it would wash off the bug spray. But yeah, it was, I don't know why, it was the only plant in my room that attracted ants. It's pretty unsensitive to watering, but it will tell you. It becomes very obvious. It goes very yellow when it's too much water. It goes very brown when it's not enough water, and it droops a lot when it needs water. In terms of light, it is, you know, a tree plant, so it does need a bit brighter of light. But it is still slightly darker variegation, so it can't go in direct light. But yeah, it is a lot more sensitive than if you were to know anything about plants, if you were to touch this plant, it's a lot more sensitive than you think it would be. And I probably wouldn't suggest it for first time plant owners. But yeah, it's my stag fern. This is my arrowhead plant, sorry. It has only recently started vining. I've had it for a few years now, and it only really grows like a bush, but only just recently did it start growing off as a vine. That's why it's draping off to the side here. You can't even see me. This is the plant that, okay, if you buy it in spring, it might go alright. But I probably, there's a fair warning, it's not bad for first time owners, but a fair warning, it is extremely sensitive. Like, it's advertised to be this really easy plant for inside and for for indoor plants and for first-time owners. But I have watched videos on this plant and no one talks about how sensitive they are. Right? They are like, when they need water, even the tiniest bit, they start drooping like they're about to die. Right? They have the biggest change when the seasons come. Right? Like in winter, they drop the most leaves to the point where it's like you honestly think it's gonna die. And then when spring comes around, it grows the most of them the fastest. You can't even see me. Right, see how massive this plant is? I promise you, by the end of winter, right, because autumn hasn't even started yet, by the end of that 6 months, this will look like it's on the verge of death. And every single time it bounces back. It's a lot more sensitive than it's advertised to be. And no one talks about it. They also grow really well with cuttings. You can grow them really easily off cuttings, and they become massive. My mother has one, and it is massive. Like, yeah, so that's my arrowhead plant. Ivy! Yes, I have an ivy plant. I think this is called a Hydrea ivy plant. I've had a different type of ivy. It is currently dead. And I mean, like, it just recently died. Don't know why. It was going really well at first, and then it sort of started dying, and then it started going well again, and then it just died one day, and I do not know why. Also, with the other ivy plant, I've never been able to grow cuttings off of it, but I immediately was able to grow cuttings off of this one. I do not know why. They're two different types of ivy, but I still don't really know why. I have only just gotten this recently, and when I say recently, I mean like within the past 3 or so weeks. It's a very new plant, so I don't know a lot about it. So far it's going really well. I have it on my shelf, sort of draping off the side, and I really like it, and it looks really cool. It grows a ton of leaves, by the way, like so many. And it does seem to grow from cuttings from the one that I have in water right now. But yeah, there's not a lot I can say about this. It's pretty average of a house plant. You know, you water it about the same amount you would any other house plant. It is slightly darker variegation than most ivy. So I mean, like, you could probably put in a little bit more shade, but ivy does need to be in relatively bright light in general. And it's a pretty rapid grower, I'll admit. Like, it definitely grows faster than the other ivy I had. So yeah, I think it's called a Hydrea ivy. Yep, it's my ivy plant. We're getting close to the end now. I'm starting to sweat. I don't know how I'm going to show my last one because it's massive and it's on the floor over there, if you can see it, behind my pile of clothes. But we get in there. This is the third last plant. This is a Monstera. Yeah, fun fact. Monstera comes in a very large range of sorts of plants. I don't know why, but I definitely wasn't expecting to find out that Monstera genus come in vines. I actually can't remember what this is called. Oh, there's something on my back. I'm playing with plants, so I'm a little scared there's a spider on my back. But yeah, it grows really well as well. I have some cuttings that I need to put in it, like today. Yeah, but it's fairly unfussy. It's got fairly darker variegation, but it's got little lighter spots, if you can see that. It is not a trick of the light, it is actually like that. Kind of looks like it has frostbite, but it's not. That is its variegation. But yeah, it grows really well. It's a very healthy plant, but I haven't gone through winter with it, so we shall see. I've got a lot of plants that I haven't gone through winter before with. We shall see how they go. But yeah, it's just a very good growing plant. It grows towards the light, like a lot, as most vine plants do. But yeah, there's not a lot to say about it. It's not very sensitive either, so it is a very good plant for first-time owners, I would say. Yeah, it's my Monstera vine. Oh, can't even see me. This is one of my Dracaena plants. Bloody hell. This is one of my Dracaena plants. It's, I believe it's called a Dracaena star stripe because of the light stripe that goes down the middle of the leaves and the way its leaves sort of form like a star. I don't know if you can see this. Look, I've got my little koala on it. Like it's hugging it because it's a tree. This is a cutting off of a plant that is outside. These can grow massive. They are quite literally just mini trees. And not bonsai mini, like they grow like trees. Yeah, this is a type of Dracaena. If you aren't aware, Lucky Bamboo is also a Dracaena. I think that's how you pronounce it. But yeah, this is fairly unfussy. Ironically, you'd think because it is a lighter stripe, it would need a little bit more light, but it actually grows fairly well. I have it up there on one of my higher shelves and stuff, and it's off to the side a little bit. And it gets a lot less light than any of my other plants, and it still grows very well. So it's very unfussy, and I would say it's a really good plant for beginners, but I've never actually seen it in stores. My mum had her plant for ages before I got this cutting off. Like I'm saying, I don't remember a time where she didn't have it, and I'm 18, so. But I've never actually seen it in a store. But yeah, they're really unfussy. I've gone through a few winters with it, so it doesn't react. I don't really know what to say. The soil does dry up fairly fast, I will admit that, but it doesn't really react to it. But yeah, it's a very good plant for first time owners, I would say. And this is the second last one. Yeah, another koala. Okay, I'm going to show this to you on the other side of the camera. You won't be able to see me because I'm not picking up this plant. It is large and it is heavy. This is going to be an Aglaonema. It's called a Christina Maria Aglaonema. Like specifically, there is a Christina Aglaonema, there is a Maria Aglaonema. This is the Christina Maria. It is not the same as the other two. I don't know why they made it so complicated. I do not know. Okay, they just did. Okay, so I'm going to show you it. This is it. Sorry for the shaky camera. It is a little messed up now. I only just recently brought it back inside. I had it outside for a while because I combined two of them. It was originally two separate plants and I combined them. But because it was outside for so long, it has a lot of burnt leaves. And that is going to be my first point. This plant is so sensitive to light. Like I've never seen any indoor plant that is this sensitive to light. It's ridiculous. To be fair, Aglaonemas are known to be sensitive to light, but this is, like, it's not a pink Aglaonema. It shouldn't be this sensitive. It's ridiculous. I leave it out for a day and it starts scorching like it's been left in a freaking oven. It's not too sensitive to water though. You can go a while without water, but that may also just be because I have it in a massive pot. This is definitely not meant to be an indoor pot, but it is very sensitive to light. I have it on like the complete opposite side of my room to where my window is. It is the complete opposite side, complete opposite corner as well. But yeah, it's really good for first time owners, but I will warn you, it is very sensitive to light. Like I still need to get some of this off. Yeah, that's my Aglaonema Christina Maria. Okay, it is the end of the video. I'm sweating my ass off. Whoa, that is going to be a long video. If you sat through that, freaking kudos to you, because I probably wouldn't be able to. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing like I said earlier. If you didn't, as I also said earlier, just leave. No one is forcing you to watch my video. Especially if you got all the way through it. Like, you're here in your own accord. Don't complain about it. Anyway, regardless, I hope you enjoyed it. I also hope you have a great day or night wherever you are. And yeah, that's the end of my plant video. Bye guys.